So call me back. Okay, I love you. Bye.
What's up, you guys, and welcome back to Emotionally Online, the show for spilling guts and sharing secrets, hosted by yours truly, the one and only Maddie Drossbeck. I am fresh off of a illness, some cold of some sort. So if I sound a little nasally today and extra sexy, that's why. It was a little bitty baby illness that just took me over towards the end of last week, over the weekend. Honestly, I think that it was my body demanding the alone time that I talked about needing in last week's episode. I mentioned that I needed alone time and that I needed to cancel some of my plans. And my body was like, oh, you need to cancel plans? Oh, babe, don't worry about it. You don't fucking worry about it, because you're going to have to cancel every plan you have over the next 5 days. So that's what I did. And I have been sitting here in this apartment doing mostly resting, which has been awesome, despite the fact that I couldn't breathe out of my nose for the entire time that it was happening. So it wasn't the most ideal relaxation period, but you know what? We got that alone time in, and thank God for that. And now I just miss the besties. Now I cannot wait to see my friends again. I'm like, oh my God, I've experienced so much FOMO over the last few days. I mean, not really. I was excited to be alone, to be totally honest with you. But also, I do miss the besties. Was experiencing a little tiny bit of FOMO, because I would always love to be with the besties, but it was for the best, and I was literally fucking sick. So anyways, we got that alone time in, starting to feel better, but I definitely sound a little bit sicky still. So sorry to all the audio listeners out there that only have to listen to my voice and don't get to look at my beautiful face to sort of counteract the nasally sound. But maybe you think I sound great, and I'm just being overcritical, which is something I've been thinking about a lot this week. How overly critical I am of myself to an unreasonable degree. I have been beating myself up because my apartment's not clean enough to me. If anybody has ever come into my apartment, or you see it in videos, it's always super fucking clean. Everything is always in its place. My apartment is never messy. I'm just not a messy person. But in my head, I'm like, but it could be so much cleaner, because I'm like, I don't know. When I see cat hair, I vacuum every single day, but it still isn't enough with all the cat hair that's everywhere. So I'm always like, oh my God, right now I can see a little cat hair over by the door where her fucking litter box is. And I'm like, well, I hate that that's there. I do. I hate it. Also, I'm, what do they call it? I heard someone refer to this earlier this week. It was Hollywood clean or something. Hollywood presentable. I don't know. But it's when everything looks clean and organized to the naked eye, but then you open up the closets, the cabinets, and you're like, oh, what the fuck is going on here? That's kind of how I feel right now too. Because I feel like all of my cabinets and drawers and closets need a serious organizing. And I'm like, this is all just so messy, and I'm so irritated with it. But then I go on a walk and I see other people have shit shoved between their bed and the window that you can see from the street. And I'm like, you know what? You're being really hard on yourself, because you would collapse and die if that was the state of your apartment. And it's not. So why are you yelling at yourself because everything is messy, when it's really not that messy in the grand scheme of things? No hate to people that have things shoved between their bed and the window that people can see from the street. I hope that you feel comfortable living that way. That sounded so backhanded. I'm sorry. I don't mean it that way. I would personally die if it was me, but it's not me. So I don't have to worry about that. And I don't mean to shame anyone for being messy. Live your life, bestie. I don't care what you do in your home. Just don't do it in my home. Anyways, long story short, I'm just way too hard on myself. Well, how did I get into talking about that? Oh, right. Because I was saying how awful I sound on the mic this week. Oh my God. Great. I just insulted myself, and I insulted any messy people listening to the podcast. I'm off to a really great start this week. Okay, guys, I have a really cute idea for us that I think would be really fun for us to execute, a fun little sleepover slumber party project for us. And it's a collaborative playlist project, okay? You hearing the vision, you seeing the vibes. I just feel like it's what we need as we're entering February, the month of love. Lover girls everywhere are coming alive this month. And I feel like beginning of the month to kick it off with a little Lover Girls project, a little Lover Girls collaborative moment, I think it could be good for us. So I want to make a playlist full of songs that feel like falling in love. And then I will collaborate with all of you. I'll compile all of your answers and I'll put them into this big playlist. So that way we can all listen to songs that sound like falling in love to other lover girls based within Lover Girls Worldwide on the Emotionally Online podcast. Cinematic universe, okay? So if you have an answer to the question of what is a song that sounds like falling in love to you, feel free to comment on the YouTube version of the show. I'll have it linked in the Spotify question section of the show, so you can submit an answer on YouTube, on Spotify, or you can DM me or the podcast Instagram account on Instagram, and I will check in all 4 of those locations. So your answers, your voice will be heard, okay? And I'll be compiling this playlist over the course of the next week, so by the time the next episode comes out, it will be finalized, and that will be the official soundtrack to Lover Girls Worldwide for the foreseeable future, okay? This is like a huge fucking deal. This is a huge collaborative project that I am inviting you in on, and it's going to be huge for us, okay? So submit your songs. Tell me what song sounds like falling in love to you, and we're going to make one of the best playlists of all time, okay? We're about to make playlist making history. You guys don't even understand it. And I will be making a playlist on Spotify. I'm sorry to anyone that uses Apple Music. You're just wrong for that, and I don't know how to tell you otherwise. Shout out to all our Apple Podcast listeners. There's not a lot of you, so I'm offending everybody today. Oh my God. I'm sorry I'm being such a hater. I'm just letting loose these days. I talked to my therapist about how I think I just need to let loose a little bit and stop worrying about saying everything right all the time and being the most like polished version of myself. I think I just need to let words come out of my mouth, and you know, if I upset people, I upset people. So let's add that to the list. I've offended Maddie Drosbeck. I've offended messy people, and I've also now offended Apple Podcast listeners. So you know what? Add to the list. I'll make a big group apology to everyone at the end of the episode when we compile all the people that I've been rude to today. Okay? Love you all. Can I say something huge at the start of this episode? Which some of you might disagree with me on this, and I told you I'm feeling crazy today. So I'm going to talk about it anyway. There's a group of people that I'm ready to defend this week. And, you know, it is a group of people that I have defended before and will defend long into the future, okay? The group of people that I am ready, willing, able, and eager to defend this week are 10-year-old girls in Sephoras. 10-year-old girls in Sephoras everywhere, I would like to defend you today. I'm stepping up, stepping in the ring, and I'm saying, little girls in Sephora, I will represent you. I am not a lawyer, but I am today. Okay. In the case of the girlies in Sephora versus adults on the internet, I'm ready to take a stab here and defend you. There's layers to this, right? Because I'm not necessarily completely disagreeing with everybody, but I think that the way that this shit has gotten taken out of hand and just turned into another reason to be mean to little girls is actually pissing me off. Genuinely. I mean that completely seriously. This connects to something I've talked about before on the internet, which is little girls making get ready with me videos. And they'll make get ready with me videos doing their skincare and their makeup and their hair before school, before they go to, middle school. And people get so unreasonably mad at these 10, 11, 12-year-old girls that are doing, full faces of makeup before school and making their cute little videos about it. And they're mad for 2 reasons. They're mad that these girls are doing makeup and skincare. And they're also mad that these girls have accounts on the internet and are making get ready with me videos. And like, why are you here? Get off the internet. Like, stop using makeup. Go be a kid. Whatever. And these grown adults will leave comments on these kids' videos. There's a few young girls that appear on my Instagram Reels page all the time, making their cute little videos, talking about their friends at school and their crushes and, hanging out with their older siblings over the weekend. Just the cute little sweet videos. and they're mimicking what they see is popular on social media. These little get ready with me videos that they see people my age doing, and they mimic it and they talk to the camera. Hey guys, look, I've got this Rare Beauty blush. It's so good. It's so pigmented. I find it so cute and so endearing because this is what's popular to them. For this day and age, what is popular to them is these kinds of short get ready with me like TikTok and Instagram videos. I think it's sweet watching them mimic what they've seen on the internet. And I feel like especially protective of young girls on the internet that make internet content, because I was once a young girl on the internet that made internet content. And when I was a young girl on the internet, I was mostly left alone. You know, other kids watched my content and we had fun making silly little videos mimicking what older people were doing in their videos. And we had a good time. But for whatever reason, lately, adults are getting like so involved in what kids are posting on the internet, and there will be, I'm not kidding, full adults in the comment section being like, delete your account and go play outside. Like, whose kid is this? And they're trying to be funny. These adults that just want to get likes on their comment and to feel like, I don't know, they did something by being like, who the fuck let their kid on Instagram? What are you doing? You don't need to wear makeup. You're going to the 6th grade. But you're just like bullying a child is what you're doing. And you're making her feel bad about absolutely nothing. I also think that I was raised by a hot girl. I've talked about this before. I am a hot girl who was raised by a hot girl. My parents were not strict with me growing up, and I was allowed to do, you know, anything I wanted to do in regards to like my self-expression and how I played with makeup or dressed myself. My parents were never the type to tell me what I could do in terms of self-expression. And I watched my mom do makeup my whole life. And so I probably started wanting to do makeup around the same age that I'm seeing these girls do makeup. But when I was that age, there wasn't as much of a booming resource on the internet for like high quality makeup tutorials the way there is now. So when I was that age and I started being interested in makeup, I learned from my mom. I learned from watching, you know, my friends' older siblings, and probably towards like later in middle school for me is when YouTube started becoming a more like reliable resource for like makeup tutorials and things like that. You know, I could go in 8th grade, I would go watch people do makeup tutorials for how to do your makeup, like the cast of Pretty Little Liars. The first like makeup look that I ever like stuck to was one I believe that Alexa Losi did that was based on a makeup look for Hannah Marin, Ashley Benson's character in Pretty Little Liars. And it was probably one that I watched when I was in like the 8th grade. But that was like the start of that kind of content on the internet. When I was a few years younger than that, I was still interested in makeup and all of these fun girly things. But there wasn't like, I wasn't being influenced to do my makeup in a certain way. There weren't products that were being sold to me. And if there were products that were being sold to me, they were the ones that were marketed on children's television channels or in like kids' J14 magazines. So we've got like, you know, lip smacker ads, little kid lip gloss products. Like I wasn't being sold higher quality makeup stuff until a few years later when social media started becoming more of a thing. The idea of an influencer was a thing. I think AdSense came out in like 2010, 2011, maybe even 2012. People on YouTube weren't being paid until around like I was in late middle school, early high school. And so the idea of like an influencer and somebody that made money making content didn't exist until around then. And I think the beauty community was really coming up in like the 2009 to 2012 era of the internet. Okay. So once that started happening, I was all in. Okay. We were in Sephora's lined up to get the fucking naked palettes and our fucking Urban Decay primer potions. All right. We were swatching every single Kat Von D makeup lipstick on our wrists every time we went to Sephora. All right. We were menaces in Sephora too. It just was happening maybe a few years later because that's when it started to become trendy. That's when those products were starting to be pushed to us. But have no doubt we were menaces in Sephora too. Also, a lot of the products that were popular at the time were like fucking like Maybelline mini palettes that you can get at CVS. Like, I feel like what was popular back then is very different than what is popular right now. But the idea that like children being menaces in department stores and Sephoras and malls is new is like absurd to me, because children have always been menaces in public spaces. What the fuck are we talking? Me and my friends used to get dropped off at the mall all fucking afternoon with $20 and a dream. I've talked about this before. We used to go around, take pictures with the Gilly Hicks and the Abercrombie models, and just walk around, try everything on, spray everything, every single perfume in Bath and Body Works. You know, we would go in Sephora and swatch every single lipstick. We didn't have money. We were just at the mall entertaining ourselves. Yeah, we were menaces too. Have you ever been into a Sephora where the testers were not fucked up? Like, why are we acting like this is new? Kids have always been wild in malls. Kids have always been wild in Sephoras. So to me, to be like, these 10-year-olds now are crazy, their parents let them do anything and wear all this makeup and make get ready with me's on the internet, it reads to me so much as people being like, back in my day, kids, we used to play outside on the swing set, and kids these days, they just don't fucking get it. And you would have to hold me at fucking gunpoint before I am a 26-year-old being like, back in my day. I am not, and I will never be the type of adult that looks down on the younger generation. You will not see me do that, okay? Because I think that it makes perfect sense that this is what is interesting and cool to little girls right now, given what is popular right now. With that being said, I think it is perfectly fine to, as an adult, critically look at the content that we are promoting as adults, the rules that social media platforms have for how kids can interact with content made by adults, and how the introduction of social media is impacting the younger generation. I think it's good to be critical and think critically about these things and how the content that we are making is impacting little girls. However, that is not the fault of little girls. So to be in the comment sections of 11-year-olds on Instagram making get ready with me videos is fucking absurd. If you have criticisms for what is being pushed and who's allowed on these social media platforms and how that is being regulated and controlled, that's one thing. To take it out on 10-year-olds is a whole other thing. And obviously this goes deeper too, where people are like, there are 10-year-olds using retinols and that's insane, which it is insane. If a 10-year-old is using a retinol, that's obviously still not the fault of the 10-year-old, though. That's the fault of an absent parent who's not doing research into what their kids are buying or what their kids are asking for or whatever. But it's like, to get mad at the 10-year-old and to make fun of these little girls on the internet that are making these cute little videos mimicking what they see other people do. I'm like, I don't understand why everything always falls on the little girl. Criticize the fucking absent-minded parents that are buying their kids these products without looking into whether or not they're safe for kids or not. I personally don't have an issue with kids doing skincare and makeup and wanting to use press-on nails or whatever. I have no issue with it whatsoever. If I was a parent, I would want my kids to be using products that were like safe and appropriate for the age they're at, but I would never be the type of parent that's like, no, you're not allowed to do skincare and makeup. That seems ridiculous to me. But I'm a hot girl raised by a hot girl. Okay. This was cool when I was a kid. My mom would let me do any of this shit if I wanted to do it. It's just what's trendy now is a lot different than what's trendy when I was a kid. So I get it. If I was a 10-year-old right now, I would be doing the same shit. I would absolutely be doing the same shit. If I was 10 years old right now, that is exactly what I would be doing. What are we talking here? That's why I feel so defensive of them. Because I look at these little girls on the internet that are doing the exact same things that I did when I was younger. It's just that different things were trendy when I was younger. But then people are getting mad at the 10-year-olds for it instead of getting mad at the adults for not doing a better job of being like, okay, this is what's trendy and cool, and you want to do this and you have an interest in this, and I think that's awesome, and let's like encourage you to lean into like how fun and creative self-expression can be in a way that is appropriate and safe, products that are safe for your age group. But there are I don't know. People have all kinds of opinions where they're like, absolutely no makeup, no skincare, which, as we know, when you go hard no on things like that, when it's the most trendy and popular thing, and you're somebody that really feels an inclination to want to take part in things like that, and you're told hard stop no, what are you going to do? You're going to sneak off to Sephora with your friends, and you're going to buy all the products you want, and you're going to hide them, and you're going to use whatever it is that you want. So yeah, I'm sure there are young kids using retinols because their parents don't even know that they're buying products, because their parents said hard stop, no, you're not allowed to use any of it. I'm sure it's happening. I'm not saying that it's not, but I'm saying that it rage towards 10-year-olds, towards 11-year-olds, middle school girls that are using makeup and skincare products and making cute little get ready with me videos is so fucking misguided and stupid. I will defend 10-year-olds in Sephora until I die. I will defend them for being menaces, because I think we all were menaces at that age in our own ways, switched up for what was popular at that time for us. We were menaces in Bath and Body Works. We were menaces in Lush. We were menaces in Forever 21. We were menaces at fucking Gilly Hicks and Abercrombie and Hollister. And we were menaces in Sephora too. We were menaces in MAC, okay? We were menaces. We were 10-year-old fucking menaces. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Just a few weeks ago, I was talking about people used to do like scavenger hunts at the mall for birthdays. And the whole task would be to just be a menace. Be a menace in like 20 different locations in the mall. Little kids have always done that. That's just what little kids do. I don't have an issue with it. I don't. And I don't have an issue with little kids wanting to have skincare routines and play with makeup. I don't. I think that they should be guided in the right direction to use products that are safe for them. Of course. Of course I believe that. I'm not a fucking parent though, so I can't do that. I have no control over what those parents are doing. What I do have control over is how I act as an adult on the internet. So no, you will not catch me in the comment section of a 10-year-old yelling at them. Because that's ridiculous and that's absurd, and you are a weirdo for that. I just can't emphasize enough how many adults need to be told you are fucking weird. You are. And the kids are fine. You're the weird one, and you always have been. There's so many adults that need to hear that, truly, deeply, and honestly. And let me re-emphasize here that I don't even disagree with some of the criticisms that people have and like the concern they have for what little girls are learning about beauty standards. Fucking obviously I have criticisms in that regard as well. There are so many things that I would change about the way that I was taught about beauty as a kid. This is half the reason why I make the content that I do. Like, clearly I have fucking opinions about beauty standards. Clearly I'm in agreement with a lot of those things. What I disagree with is the approach that people take and the rage that people have towards little girls. Let them have fun. Okay? I'm tired of little girls being shamed for every single interest that they have, that they were sold by adults. We made it popular. Of course they want in. Why are we making fun of them? I just have beef. The adults are the problem and always have been. Like, I can't emphasize this enough. I was going through my notes earlier today, and I found a note that I started writing of my pet peeves, which I didn't get very far. I made like 2 bullet points because I think what happened was my brother did something that really pissed me off, and I was like, oh, I gotta write this shit down because I need to talk about it. But then I looked at the second thing that I wrote, and I was like, this is like in direct connection to why the first one pisses me off. So I think I've discovered what is like the most annoying thing to me in the world. The first thing that I wrote was spitting on the street, which I think I wrote because I was on a walk with my family. My brother just like hawked a loogie on the street. And I was like, that's gross. Like, that's super disgusting. And I need you to know that. You shouldn't have done that. That was so out of fucking line. I hate it. Makes my skin crawl. It makes me want to punch my fist through a wall when men will go in the middle of the fucking street. Like, that's normal in any way. Like, that's normal and acceptable. It's not. It is not normal nor acceptable. It's fucking disgusting. It actually pisses me off. And my whole family was in agreement, thank God. Because I was like, you need to not do that. And my brother was like, I have something stuck in my throat. I'm like, I literally don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care. I need to emphasize this enough. I do not care. Do whatever you need to do in like the comforts of your own home in the bathroom in privacy, okay? Do not hawk a loogie on the street. It's so disgusting. It's so inconsiderate of the people around you. It's just like, it's nasty. It's fucking disgusting. To me, it's like you might as well just like rip your pants off and take a shit in the middle of the street. What's the difference? It's like so gross. It's so gross. There's some things you just don't do in public. That should be one of them. Just like emptying a body fluid out in front of people, close to other people. It's gross. Don't do it. That was number one. Number two is when people stop walking in the middle of a like main walkway, which I was ready to throw punches when I was on vacation with my mom the other week, because we kept being in spaces where there was like a clear walking path, and there are other people on vacation that will just like stop in the middle of the walking path. And it's like, I'm so used to being an asshole to people when they do shit like that, because people do it in New York all the time, and I'm always like, what is wrong with you? So I love when people do that. And I get that I'm being rude when I do this, but I don't care, because I find it so maddening when people do this, when they stop in the middle of the walkway. So when they do that, I will walk as like close to them as I humanly can, and like swerve around them and swerve back in front of them as close as I possibly can, to be like, that was fucking annoying. I'm just going around them like a box, and I'm like real huffy and puffy about it. I get it. I'm an asshole too, but I don't care. I actually don't care, because it's so irritating to me. And I think thinking about these two things next to each other, I was like, okay, so the takeaway here is that my like biggest pet peeve is people that are completely oblivious to how the things that they are doing impact the people around them. Yeah, absolutely. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. And I don't know if it's just like because I feel like I go through life constantly plagued by how the things that I'm doing impact other people to a degree that is unreasonable. So when I see people like so free of that part of their brain, I get mad. Like, I'm the type of person that I'm afraid to put my seat back on an airplane. I'm totally allowed to do that. You are totally allowed to recline your seat on an airplane. I don't get mad when other people do it. That's totally within your right to recline your seat on the airplane. I would rather die than recline my seat on an airplane. I would, because I just feel like nervous, and I feel like I'm inconveniencing people, and I'm like, oh my God, it's just the worst thing that I could do inside my own brain. So I'm afraid to recline my seat back, because I'm just so concerned about how it's going to impact the person behind me. Also, I'm short. So I'm not that worried about my space in an airplane seat. I'm like, okay, I fit here. I'm good. My legs are short. Like, I'm fine. I'm cool with the amount of space I get on an airplane. But then I'm like, what if I recline the seat back and the person behind me is like fucking 6'4"? Not that it impacts foot space at all, but I don't know. I'm trying to rationalize it right now, and I can't. I'm like, I'm so worried. Like, it's stupid. I get it. But this is the type of person I am, where I'm like constantly worried about the people around me. And so when I see people that are willing to hawk a loogie in the middle of a walkway, or stop in the middle of a walkway and hold up all these people, it makes me irrationally angry, because I'm like, how do you go through life just not thinking about these things? Because I think about everything. In fact, I'm plagued by it. Oh my God, you experience a freedom that I will never know. Not that I even want to, right? Because I love not being the type of person who spits in public or stops in the middle of the moving walkway when there's people trying to, places to be, people to see, okay? I don't want to be the person that does those things. However, I am so jealous of the freedom they must feel from being that oblivious, of not thinking about other people. Sometimes I'm like, wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't that be fucking sick to have just like no care in the world and to be totally oblivious? It's not even really that you're intentionally an asshole. It's that you're not thinking of it. Your brain just doesn't move in that direction. And you're like, you know what? It's totally cool to hawk this loogie right here. It's totally fucking cool. I'm the type of person where if I have to cough or sneeze in public, well, first of all, I will never sneeze in public. I will hold my nose and make that bitch go away. I will never do that. Coughing in public, I swear to God, I'm sitting there like bartering with God to take the cough out of my throat. Sometimes it works. Sometimes I'll sit there and I'll feel like such a tickle in my throat and I'm like, I need to cough so fucking badly, but like I'll be damned if I let that cough come out in public. And I'm looking up to the sky and I'm like, please take the cough out of my throat. And I'll start talking to my dead grandpa inside my head. I'm like, please, Grampy, take the cough out of my throat. Take it out. Just take it until I can be alone and I can let the cough out later. Take it away. And sometimes he takes it away. And all of a sudden I'll be fine. And I'm not kidding. It's like the worst thing to me to have to cough in public. It's the worst thing. It's so embarrassing. It's humiliating. I'm not kidding either. There's no part of this is a joke. So I understand I'm all the way on the other side of the spectrum where I can't even recline my seat on an airplane or cough in public. So I'm like both annoyed and in utter amazement at the people that can just do whatever the fuck they want in public. Or like people that eat in Ubers. You guys are insane. You guys are crazy. Because like, first of all, that's totally not allowed, right? You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to eat in an Uber. But then there are people that just fucking do it. And they rip open that Uber car and they just dig into their, everything bagel with scallion cream cheese like it's nobody's business. And I'm like, you guys are brave. You guys are literally so brave and you don't even know it. I don't think that's allowed. I think that's fully against the rules, but you don't care. Even if it's not a written rule, it's definitely like a socially unspoken rule that you can't just like have a meal in a stranger's car. That seems wild. But there are some people that don't think about these things. They experience a freedom that I will never know. And I don't know who's better off for it, me or them. I actually can't tell you. But it is my pet peeve. Whether or not I'm, benefited by this or they are, the world may never know. But they do piss me off. And that's the truth. So let's add them to the list of people I've offended in today's episode. All right, let's dive into some of your guys' secrets. If you don't know, there is a submission box for the show where you guys can submit anything and everything. Anything that you'd like to bring up at the sleepover, it will stay at the sleepover. Hi, Maddie. Emotionally Online is the only podcast I listen to because it never fails to provide comfort and support. Taste. Okay, we love to hear it. My boyfriend and I have been together for a few months and he's my first ever partner. I have never been intimate with anyone in any way before him. I love him so much. He is very supportive and communicative, but for some reason I often fake orgasms. He always tells me he can do whatever I want to give me pleasure, doesn't pressure me to always have an orgasm, and I always communicate with him any concerns easily. Yet, I can't seem to make myself tell him I've faked a lot of orgasms because it feels like I've been lying from the start for no reason. It's not even that I fake them necessarily, it's more that I settle for a small orgasm or convince myself it's an orgasm, but accidentally make it seem like I enjoyed it much more because I like to moan a lot and sounds turn me on. I don't know why I do it. I've had some of the most intense orgasms in my experience with him, but those usually happen when we try something completely new, which we can't keep doing every single time. He asks me how he can improve, but I have no idea. He does everything really well. I think as a girl, I feel the pressure to come to be more attractive and not hard to please. I'm just scared that if I suddenly stop the orgasms, he will feel suspicious, like I suddenly lost interest in him. But if I tell him outright, he'll think I never trusted him enough to not fake. The longer this continues, the harder it is to tell him. How do I help myself orgasm without hurting my boyfriend's feelings if I don't even know what makes me come? Appreciate any thoughts on why girls fake orgasms and how to overcome that. I have so many things to say in response to this, but I'll start by saying that I feel like you're being a little hard on yourself in terms of like what your pleasure should look like and how, like what level of enthusiasm you should respond to certain things. I'm quite similar to you in that sound really turns me on, and I'm a very enthusiastic sexual partner when I'm having fun. And I don't think that like the point of sex or the joy of sex is to have an orgasm necessarily. I think that, half the fun is in the journey, right? Actually achieving an orgasm, it is like there's so many factors that go into it. And half the time it's not even necessarily about whether or not your partner is like doing everything completely right, you know? There's such a mental part of sex and achieving an orgasm, and sometimes it's just not possible. Also, there's so many other factors too, like if you're on medications that make it harder for you to come, or you know, whatever else. There's so many factors beyond just like my partner is good at this and so I come. Like it's just more complicated than that. And so for that reason, I think a lot of us don't see an orgasm as like a necessary part of sex, or at least not like the be all end all goal. It's not like if you have sex and don't have an orgasm, that was bad sex. I think you can have great sex and not have an orgasm. I also don't think that just because you're not having an orgasm, it means that you can't show that you're experiencing pleasure. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, maybe this is TMI. Never TMI at the sleepover. But sometimes I feel like I might even be louder during the process of getting to climax than I am during climax. I almost feel like sometimes I am much quieter during climax than I am during like the process of being turned on and brought to orgasm. So I don't even think that you need to be like measuring how like loud you're moaning or enthusiastic you are as like, oh, you're misleading him. Like you're enjoying yourself, you're experiencing pleasure. You can show that you're experiencing pleasure. You don't have to like, I don't know, monitor yourself for how many decibels you're moaning, you know, and judge yourself for being like too enthusiastic and thinking that you're lying because of that. Because you're still experiencing pleasure and having a good time, and an orgasm isn't like the be all end all there. So I'll start by saying that because I think that in some ways we have to like completely throw out what we think about sex and pleasure and how we show it and start new when we're throwing out the idea of like an orgasm being the center most important thing in our sexual interactions. I feel like you can have, you know, loud moan worthy sex without an orgasm, and that doesn't have to mean that you're lying. We experience pleasure in all different ways, and I don't think we need to be critical towards ourselves for how we are showing that we're experiencing pleasure. Another thing is that I think that like a good question to ask yourself is, how do you define great sex? And when I was going through my notes app then I found the pet peeves stuff, I also found a notes app where I answered that question. How do you define great sex? I think I saw this question written somewhere on October 15th, 2023. I wrote this. I definitely just saw this question on social media and was like, oh, I want to answer that. So I did. And it's funny because the first sentence that I wrote in response to the question, how do you define great sex, was to preface, I'm answering while pretending that orgasming doesn't exist. And I wrote that because I feel like for me at this stage of my life, how I feel my relationship with sex and pleasure and, you know, sex with other people, sex with myself, all of these things, an orgasm is not really that important to me. And it's not what makes me feel like I had great sex. It's not like the marker for what I want when I think about, like, I don't know, when I'm feeling really horny and I want to have sex and I'm thinking about it and I'm fantasizing about it. I'm never fantasizing about an orgasm, ever. Because it's just not the sexiest thing. It's not the hottest thing. It's not the thing that brings me like the most internal emotional pleasure, even if it's like the pinnacle of the physical pleasure. I don't even know that I would call it the pinnacle of the physical pleasure. Like, it's the explosion of the buildup, but the buildup is so much more fun to me. And the buildup is just as like pleasurable. I think I like it more. Like, I just don't, the orgasm is not the most important part to me. So I think that's another thing. If you're asking yourself, like, what does great sex look like to you? I think you might be able to relieve yourself of a little bit of the guilt that you're feeling, because I don't think that you necessarily need to feel bad for showing that you're enjoying sex with your partner if you're not orgasming, you know? And also, it's not like they're never bringing you to orgasm. It's just that it doesn't happen every single time, which is totally fucking normal. And it sounds like you're with somebody who's eager to to please you, to make sure that they're doing a good job. They're asking you what feels good, if you want to try something new, and they're open to trying those new things. This seems like a great person to be with. I don't think you need to feel guilty about not orgasming every single time. I also don't even necessarily feel like you're lying based on what you said, to be totally honest. And I think this is because I don't think that like grand showcases of moaning and pleasure are exclusive to orgasms. So that to me doesn't feel like you're lying, because I don't think that every time you have sex an orgasm is like a prerequisite. And I don't think you need to feel bad for like, I don't know, showing that you're having a good time during sex when you are having a good time during sex, even if it's not an orgasm. You know what I mean? Like you're happy to be there. You're experiencing pleasure. You're having a good time. Whether or not it's an orgasm is sort of like, I don't know. It doesn't really matter, does it? When I think it becomes faking an orgasm is when you are pretending to experience pleasure that you're not actually experiencing. If you were like doing this like grand showcase of like moaning when you weren't feeling any pleasure, and like he wasn't even like close to the clit, and you're like just fully faking it, like that is faking it. But I think when you're experiencing pleasure, you're just not orgasming. I don't think that's faking it. You are experiencing pleasure. You know what I mean? Like faking it to me is when you are completely faking it. And it's just like, I am reacting in a way that's not in alignment with how I feel. But if you're just a moaner, girl, own it. But I think maybe the other time it could be considered faking an orgasm is if you want to stop having sex, and instead of just stopping, you feel like you have to fake an orgasm in order to stop. And usually it has nothing to do with them. It's just like sometimes your body goes past a point of no return and you're like, well, I'm not going to be able to come now, and that's that. And it really isn't their fault. They could have been doing everything right, and it's just not going to happen. And sometimes when I've reached that point and I've faked an orgasm to be like, I'm done. But it's not even necessarily like I faked an orgasm because they were doing bad. It was like I faked an orgasm because my body just wasn't going to orgasm, and I didn't want them to take that personally. I think we worry a lot about what our partners are going to think if we can't come. We don't want them to take it as like a reflection of how we feel about them or how attracted we are to them, how good they are in bed. Because you're like, you're wonderful, you're fantastic, you're so hot, you're doing a great job. I want you to know that you're doing a good job. I want to give you your flowers. So we fake orgasms as a way to like give our partners the flowers that we feel they deserve, even if we're not actually orgasming. So anyways, all of that to say, totally get it, been there. But it sounds like you're in a very supportive relationship with a pretty open-minded partner. So I wonder how difficult it would be to just open up a conversation about, how differently orgasming can look for you, for experience to experience. I think you might be surprised to learn that he probably understands. I don't think that anybody experiences like a clear shot, no roadblocks to an orgasm every single time. And I don't even feel like you need to preface this by being like, I've lied to you, I've been faking orgasms, because I don't know that that is how I would describe what you just described. But maybe the conversation is more about like the pressure to perform during sex and the pressure to like reach an orgasm, and maybe speaking more openly about how the path to an orgasm is not always easy for you, and you don't want him to feel bad if you don't reach an orgasm, because that's not like the most important thing about sex to you. And I think probably having an open conversation about it will make you feel a lot more comfortable about it. And you know what? I think you'll probably be pleasantly surprised to find out that he understands exactly what it is you're talking about. I think most people can relate to this. I just don't think that achieving an orgasm is a straight shot for anyone. Honestly, I think it'd be really beneficial to be vulnerable and to say that sometimes you have a hard time reaching orgasm, and it's something that is bothering you and you feel like a pressure, and it's not about him and how well he's performing, but it's just like difficult to climax sometimes, and he's doing great, and you experiment with new things, and sometimes you're able to reach orgasm and sometimes you're not, and like that's fucking life, and I'm sure he relates. I don't think that it's, I think everyone can relate on some level. But Godspeed and good luck, and be a little bit easier on yourself here. I'm interested to read what I wrote to the question, how do you define great sex? I didn't read through the whole thing. I only wrote this 3 months ago, so I'm sure it's still accurate. To preface, I'm answering while pretending that orgasming doesn't exist. Finishing isn't important. It's the beginning and middle part that matters. Great sex is filled with foreplay. It's drawn out, not rushed, an indulgent mixture of gentle yet hungry. I want to feel needed. I want to feel special. Great sex is communicative sex. It's dirty talk. It's moaning. It's affirmations layered over each other while making eye contact. Great sex is oral sex. Slow, passionate, taking in cues as we go for what feels the best. And while the finishing doesn't define great sex, the aftercare does. Great sex is sex we can talk about afterwards. It's sex that's followed with affection and cuddling and heart stimulation. Look at me. Make me feel admired. Make sure I'm comfortable. Talk to me about what felt good. Great sex is caring sex. It's being held in the aftermath and affirmed. This is different. This time is different. Oof. Got emotional there at the end, didn't we? Yeah, I agree with everything I said. Aftercare especially is so important, and I think often overlooked for what makes great sex. Wow, that was very vulnerable what I said at the end. I'm like just realizing what it is that I meant when I wrote that. I mean, I'm definitely just talking about wanting to feel like completely loved and held and supported by someone. Yeah, I mean, sex is emotionally complicated and very vulnerable for a lot of us, for me, for most of us, and for me. And I think I just really want to feel loved and held and cared for by someone. I want someone, this is why I don't have sex anymore, because I want love sex. I want sex that is like deeply meaningful and passionate and full of like tenderness and care, and the like aftermath of being held by someone and being affirmed that it's different feels important to me, because listen, I've got trauma, babe. Like, I don't know how else to put it. So yeah, I do need someone that just takes extra care of my heart and lets me know that they won't make me feel the way that other people made me feel. And that sex can be like fun and exploratory, and we can do dirty, nasty things to each other, but that doesn't shift the way they're able to respect and love me. You know? It's a balance. It's all about a balance. But that's definitely why I wrote that at the end, wanting to be affirmed that it is different. Because I don't want to have sex the way I used to have sex ever again. All right, babes, you know what time it is. It's time to get back in the villa and get cracking, babes. Go on then. Go on and graft your bird. All right. It's time to talk about Love Island. This is the stuff that really matters. This is the stuff that's like changing the direction that the earth spins. This is like huge. 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 And also, you know what else is shifting? The way that the world exists as a whole. It's like huge, massive impact. Was me adding photos to the Love Island segments, which I guess I'm going to keep doing. It is a huge time suck, but you know what? At least 2 people said they noticed that and liked it. So I'm going to keep adding the photos into the Love Island section. So if you're an audio listener and you want to look at photos of the Love Island people that I'm talking about appear on the screen as I'm talking about it, watch the YouTube version of the show, because I'm adding in photos to the Love Island section. Okay? All right. Break. Week 2 of Love Island. Let's fucking get into it, babes. So Arabella enters the villa, and I guess she has history with Toby that comes out pretty quickly. And I read online that she also has history with Josh, but it hasn't been addressed yet, which is like a little weird, because why are they not addressing that if she also has history with Josh? Weird. Okay. Molly and Callum have another tiff, and he says that he feels like he's been really trying and she's not. And Molly's sort of like, your actions don't really align here. Like, I think Molly wants him to be like tripping over himself to get her back. Molly wants him to be like all in on her. Molly is like, if you came here to get me back, if you seriously want to like reopen this relationship, if I were you, I would be doing everything in my power to focus on me. So Molly's like, you've been open to seeing other people and that's fine, so am I. But I think Molly feels like he's the one that needs to do like the grafting and sort of get back in her good graces. And she's like, if you really want to get back with me, you need to do a lot more than you're fucking doing right now. Meanwhile, he's like, I'm trying. We did agree that we would be fine with dating other people and we should even date other people. But I just feel like he's not getting what she is saying, which I also kind of understand. They're both kind of not the best communicators. To be totally honest, because it sounds like sometimes in their conversations, just the two of them, Molly will agree to things or go along with things that she doesn't actually feel. I think Molly's done that quite a few times, where she said that she was cool with things or that it was like whatever when she didn't actually feel that way. And it sounds like Molly wants him to like put in the effort to rebuild their relationship, but he's not really getting to what extent that means. He doesn't get exactly how much effort is going to be needed to achieve said reconciliation. He feels like he's trying, and Molly's like, this is trying. So I don't know. I kind of get both sides at this point in time, where I'm like, I get why she wants more from him, and I would agree if I was in her position that he needed to be doing way fucking more. But in the same vein, I understand why it would be confusing for him, because they did agree to date other people, and even Molly has been like, I think it'll be good if he starts seeing other people. So it's like, what do you want though? Like, which one do you want? Okay, then let's talk about Liberty and Mitch. Here's the thing. I fucking love Liberty. I do. And I really empathize with the girl because she's a bit of me. She really fucking is, babe. I see her heart, and I'm like, oh, girly, I see you. I see a lover girl. I know a lover girl when I see a lover girl, okay? But god damn it, we need to stop giving Mitch so many opportunities to get things right. So here's the thing. Liberty doesn't like that Mitch is keeping his options so open and is dating around, even though they have discussed it and agreed that that's the stage of the relationship that they are in. In general, now I'm going to get more specific in a second, so understand that my grace is going to be very fleeting here. In general, I think it's fine for Mitch to want to keep his options open and not focus only on Liberty right now. At the same time, I think it's okay for Liberty to not be down with that and not feel good about that. Liberty is a lover girl, okay? I can tell. She needs someone to be direct and vulnerable with her, or she feels unappreciated. And boy, do I relate to that, okay? I get it, girly pop. I also could not exist in a Love Island circumstances. I also would be losing my fucking mind having to date in this scenario. I think a lot of us would be. Liberty is not built for Love Island. She's not. And it makes me love her even more because it seems like a very normal person thing to not be built for. So I understand why Liberty's upset. I understand why she doesn't like him pulling chats with so many girls and being messy, and why she feels underappreciated. I too would feel that way if I was her. She wants someone to just be focused on her. I also get why Mitch is maybe not there yet with her. That's if I was being extra generous. Now I'm going to stop being generous because Mitch is a fucking loser. I do not like him. He does not like Liberty, and he has not liked Liberty, and he has just been stringing her along because he likes attention. So yeah, grace period over with. Mitch, you're a fucking loser. And we remember, let's rewind a second here. Before the recoupling that happened last week, Mitch had said to Demi that she was his number one. He pulled Demi and said, "You are my number one." Immediately after, Demi went to the terrace and kissed Lewis, and the recoupling happened, and Mitch and Liberty ended up together. This was then not touched upon again. Mitch just started pursuing Liberty after that didn't go the way that he wanted, and Demi kissed Lewis. And we as the audience, knowing what we know, knowing what Mitch said, just have to watch Liberty be option number 2 when she so desperately wants to be someone's option number 1, and she wants to feel appreciated, and she wants to feel like someone's going for her and paying attention to her and like is in here for her, which she doesn't feel with Mitch, which obviously she doesn't feel with Mitch because he's not, and she's not an idiot, right? So she's upset, and she's like, they have the same conversation over on a loop, because Mitch is not being completely honest with her, and she can tell. So then the girls are all having a conversation, and it gets brought up. Demi tells Liberty that Mitch told her that she was his number 1 right before that recoupling. And Liberty immediately goes to call Mitch out for calling Demi his number 1. And he just sort of smirks and giggles and is like, "Oh, fucking hell." Like he just, "Oh, fuck it, I got caught." And Liberty's like, "Yeah, you go fuck yourself. This is done." He just is a loser. He really is. He is so messy and so just, yeah, I mean, he doesn't have an honest bone in his body. He really doesn't. He's snaky as hell. And he's a liar, and he also has like no integrity whatsoever. He says things and then doesn't stick to them at all. I think it really is like the lack of integrity that is like the most unattractive thing about him to me. He just is like he's not it. And this is why I was so confused that Liberty went for him in the first place, because we saw him be like this on his season all the fucking time. That's how he got the name Messy Mitch. This just happened. His season was 6 months ago, babe. Why did we think it was going to be different? Why did we think he was going to change? So this is when I want to shake Liberty. And I'm like, I see Lover Girl see Lover Girl. What the fuck are you doing, bestie? He is not the one. So a lot of people are flirting. We've got Callum and Loyal G flirting a ton. Anton and Georgia are flirting. Molly and Josh. A lot of flirting happening. Okay, then Arabella has to take her pick for who she wants to steal to be in a couple with. But first, another bombshell. Tyler from season 7 enters. Tyler is Kaz's ex. So Arabella picks Chris to be her partner, who Chris is right now coupled up with Demi. And then Tyler picks Kaz, who is right now coupled up with Lewis. And as a result, because Demi and Lewis are now single, they got their partners stolen by Arabella and Tyler. Demi and Lewis get dumped from the island. Goodbye, Demi. Goodbye, Lewis. Honestly, I'm not upset about this. I didn't find either of them particularly interesting. So I think this was a win for the entertainment aspect of this season. So Tyler picks Kaz, which Tyler and Kaz dated in season 7, and they left in a couple, and they were boyfriend and girlfriend, and it was very short-lived from what I understand. And Kaz is basically like, "So why did you pick me? What is going on here?" And they talk afterwards, and she's like, "I've been wondering this for years now, so please just tell me, like, why on earth did you ask me to be your girlfriend?" Because I guess what she was making it seem like was they met on the show, they're dating on the show, they leave the show, they become boyfriend, girlfriend, and he just like doesn't step up to the plate at all or fulfill like any of the job of the title of boyfriend. Like he asks to be in a relationship and then doesn't want to put in the effort of being in a relationship with someone. And she was like, "Then why the fuck did you ask me? Like, you asked me and immediately you were not invested in this. You were not putting forth the effort." And it was just like, that sucks to be in a relationship with someone, to be asked to be in a relationship by someone that's like so checked out so immediately and you don't even know why. And he was like, "I know I was so trash and I'm trash at communicating, but I do respect you and care about you a lot." And it's like, I hate when people pull that, where it's like, "Oh, I was like literally the worst to you. I treated you so poorly, but like, I respect the hell out of you and I really care about you." And it's like, do you? You didn't show it. So like, I don't know that I believe that. I don't know that you treat people that you respect and care about in that way. I know I don't. But I get it. Life is complicated, and sometimes you do things that you regret. You treat people in ways that you regret. So, like, I get it. But also, I'm like, I kind of don't like that explanation. I was the worst, but I care and respect you so much. Like, why don't you just say, I was trash. I was trash at communicating. And I was super disrespectful, and I did not act in a way that was in alignment with how I felt about you. I do think that you're like a great girl and you deserve so much better than how I treated you. I do have a lot of care for you in my heart, but I know I didn't fucking act like that. I just feel like if you're going to say something like that, you can't just say it and be like, and I've always felt this way. And it's always been true. Because it's like, but you weren't acting like it. So, I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? All right. So going back to Liberty and Mitch, we saw what just happened, right? Where Liberty calls up Mitch for saying that Demi was his number one and then not saying any of this to her and just continuing to go on and see her and do whatever, right? She says, fuck off, fuck you, that's dumb, this is over, whatever. Bruh, not even like a few hours later, Liberty is continuing to try to pursue Mitch? Question fucking mark? What the fuck? I literally wrote, Liberty, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you still interested in Mitch? And then Liberty is talking to him, and he's like, of course I'm going to step up to the plate. And then he was like, how you're reacting to this is so attractive. I'm like, stand up. Liberty, stand the fuck up. I need you to value yourself for like 2.5 seconds. Enough to see that this is all bullshit. What the fuck does it mean? He's like, yeah, of course I'm going to step up to the plate. You fucking kidding me? How you're handling this is so attractive. How you're handling this is so attractive. I could start swinging right then and there. To have someone do you dirty, and then Liberty is just like, she's struggling. Lover girl, down bad, okay? We're down one today. And your response to seeing her like tripping over herself to still want to be with you despite the fact that you just did her so dirty is to be like, you're reacting so well to this. It's so hot. Mitch, literally, go suck a fuck. I hate him. I hate him so much. He's so fucking annoying. I'm so mad. And I'm not putting you on the list of people I need to apologize to, Mitch. I'm not. You are so annoying. You really are. Truly, honestly, madly, and deeply. Toby and Callum fight because Toby said to Callum that he could have had Loyal G on the outside if he wanted to have her. And then Callum tells that to Loyal G, and Loyal G brings it up to Toby and is like, why would you say that? You couldn't have had me on the outside, and you didn't. Which is like, I think they're just like, this is sort of like an argument of semantics because like they have had this conversation before. Like literally Toby and Loyal G to each other's faces have been like, why haven't we dated on the outside? Like clearly we both want each other. Like we both could have dated on the outside. Why didn't we? And it seems like Toby was just saying that. Like he's like, I could have dated her on the outside. We just didn't, which is the same thing that's already been being said. So it felt like it was just like an issue of semantics where then Loyal G was hearing him be like, I could have had her, but I didn't fucking want her, which isn't like the full truth. And they've had conversations about this. So it just seems like this is a stupid argument. Chris and Arabella have like a very intense makeout on the terrace. Toby calls Callum a dweeb. And then Loyal G keeps calling Callum older and more mature. And I just think that's so funny when we've had like such a great representation of why that's not true right in front of our faces so far this season. Like Callum is like what, in his late 20s, and we've witnessed the like demise of his 4-year-long relationship where he's been like acting like a real baby. Like he has the communication skills of like a 15-year-old. So no, I don't know that we do think that he's older and more mature. And also, I was reading a Reddit thread about how people are like, Loyal G is just not a girl's girl because she seems to be like dancing on the grave of their failed relationship. And there was that one time in the girls' room, like before Loyal G and Callum started to like flirt and do their thing, where Molly was in the girls' dressing room talking about how like emotionally distressing all of this was. And Loyal G is sitting there like listening to Molly, and then she turns around and she's like, and it's really hard for me because like, I kind of like Callum, but like I don't want to make this harder for you, and like you're my friend, and like puts Molly in a position where then Molly has to be like, go ahead and do what you have to do, and just like makes it about her, which was really interesting. I remember thinking that was so weird when that happened. But anyways, people were having entire dissections happening on Reddit where they were like, Loyal G is not a girl's girl, and here are all of the points to prove why she's not. Then they do the like popping balloons game, which they just like have to pop a balloon, and then they do like a truth or dare thing. I don't know. They have to like pop a balloon during a sex position. And Mitch is asked who the most loyal versus least loyal in the villa is. And he says that Toby is the most loyal and Arabella is the least loyal. And it ends in like, in an argument when Arabella is like, what is wrong with you? Because you were hitting on me the second I came into the villa. Meanwhile, you're supposed to be seeing Liberty and paying her attention. So what about you? What leg do you have to stand on to say anything about me being loyal? And then the girls were like, it's really fucking weird that for most loyal you didn't say Liberty. When you were asked the question of who in the villa is the most loyal, you're not going to say the person you're in a couple with. You're going to say your boy Toby. You're just a dumbass, Mitch. Anyways, I thought it was all kind of blown out of proportion, but that's because I think Mitch is just not worth anybody's time or energy or fight whatsoever. I think we just need to ignore him and maybe he will go away. And then I think during this game we learned that maybe Toby and Molly are happening, and Toby and Molly are having a little flirting thing going on. We know that Toby like put his whole situation with Loyal G on the line to make himself available to Molly, but then it seemed like Molly wasn't that interested, but now perhaps she is. She says that she only didn't go in on Toby in the beginning because she was concerned about Loyal G, but now she's like, fuck Loyal G. What loyalties do I owe to Loyal G? Crazy. Loyal G and Callum kiss. Hannah and Tyler go to the terrace and kiss, and he immediately tells Kaz, this whole interaction is so confusing to me because Hannah and Tyler kiss. And how I was watching this interaction, it seemed like Hannah was the one that initiated and went in for the kiss. But then in all the retellings of how this kiss went down, Hannah was like, this was so unexpected. Like, he stuck it on me and it came from nowhere. And I'm like, but is that what happened? Because it kind of looked like it was the reverse to me. Like, clearly he was into it, but it looked like Hannah was the one that made the first move. So I don't know how accurate it is that it's like he just stuck it on me out of nowhere. Like, I think you stuck it on him, and I don't think it was out of nowhere. I think that there was like a clear flirty vibe between the two of you. Anyways, he immediately tells Kaz about it, and then Kaz tells Lib, and then Liberty pulls Tyler to call him out for saying he was going to be focused on Kaz, and then he goes and kisses Hannah. Which, like, I don't think Tyler did anything wrong here. And I kind of love that Liberty is, like, besties over everything else. Liberty just isn't built for Love Island, which is great. I love that she's not built for Love Island. It makes me love her so much more. But she is not built for Love Island. Liberty, you're just a sweetie pie. And you need to go be in Sweetie Pie Nation. Come join Lover Girls Worldwide. We will take good care of you here. Bombshell alert. Okay, we've got 2 new bombshells and Twin Villa babes. We've got Sophie from series 6 and Tom from series 9. Oh my god, babes. Then it comes out Tom has history with a few of the girls, which I felt like was kind of wild because Tom's season was only a year ago. It was last like January to March, his season was, and he left the villa in a relationship, which was short-lived, admittedly. But I'm like, okay, he's only had like what? 8 months. And he has history with several of the girls in the villa. Assumably, he has history with other people outside of the villa too. So I'm like, this man gets around, because what the fuck? How does he have history with multiple people in the villa? He has history with Arabella and Loyal G. Just seems interesting to me. So they're doing the cooking thing where Sophie and Tom get to pick people to make their appetizer, main, and dessert. Tom picks Arabella, Molly, and Loyal G. Sophie picks Chris, Toby, and Josh. They do their little dates, and it seems like Tom probably has the most chemistry with Loyal G, and it seems like Sophie probably has the most chemistry with Josh. So Liberty has been venting about her situation to Anton, her situation with Mitch, and Anton's my king, and I've always said this, and people doubted me. Before the cast list for All Stars came out, I used to say to all my friends, I was like, I don't need anybody else, I just need fucking Anton, my season 5 king. And everyone was like, Anton? We don't need fucking Anton there. And I was like, guys, you just literally don't get it, and you don't remember what an icon he was in season 5. I need you guys to know that we need Anton in that fucking villa. And I'm just here to say that I was fucking right, and that I was right, and that everyone was wrong, and Anton is a king. So anyways, Liberty's been venting to Anton about it, and Anton basically tells Liberty that Mitch ain't shit, which is true. Anyways, Mitch catches wind of all of this, and Mitch is pissed that Anton basically told Liberty that he ain't shit, and she needs to, like, prioritize herself and get away from that man. So then Mitch confronts Anton about this and is like, you've gone against bro code, like telling Liberty to like stay away from me, and it's like just like discouraging Liberty from seeing Mitch. And Anton says, and I quote, "There's no bro code, it's just right and wrong." My fucking king, baby, let's go. It's the season of Anton, bitch. I want him to win. Let's bring Anton the crown. And if he does anything weird later, maybe I will take this back. But I'm saying right now that it's the season of Anton. Anton is my all-star. Give him the money. I fucking love Anton. I do. And Anton is like, if the girls want my opinion, I'll give them my opinion. It's my duty to be honest to them because they trust me and I've got close friendships with them. And he says, and I quote, "If your girl comes crying to me asking for advice, I will give her advice. You've been together 7 days. You've made her cry twice. Don't look at me. Look at yourself." Ow! I love him. I love him. Drag Mitch to filth, Anton. Make that man regret everything he's ever done ever in his choice to come back on Love Island. All right? I'm over him. Chris tells Arabella that he has a crush on Sophia and is going to pursue her too, and actually, like, point blank says that he's had a crush on Sophia since before they were in the villa, which was kind of an unnecessary bit of information. I will agree with Arabella on that one. Keep in mind that they've been coupled up for like a day at this point. But they did have like a very intense makeout on the terrace. And Chris is like, I don't want to accuse him of this, but he's kind of like borderline love bomber to me. He's like very intense and very full on very quickly. And I think it confuses some women. And so him and Arabella have only been together for like a day. When he says, actually, I have a crush on Sophia and I'm going to pursue her too. And Arabella is like, she's definitely frustrated by this, but is like, I don't know. It is what it is. I don't really understand. Not thrilled about this, whatever. But then the next day, he's like walking around the villa holding Sophia's hand in front of Arabella. And Arabella is like, this sets her off. And she's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And basically says that she thinks that he was being disingenuous in his attraction from the start. And that it was really weird for him to tell her that he had a crush on Sophia that was like, predated being in the villa, and that it was all just like weirdo behavior. And they end up getting in like a very strange weird fight, and he is being like super patronizing and tells her to stop raising her voice when she's literally not raising her voice any more than he's raising his voice. It was very like it was an uncomfortable fight to watch. And I also don't like that he's like, he started saying things like, I don't like talking about my feelings, but I did for you. And she's like, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean? You don't get to, like, when somebody tells you that you've hurt their feelings, and that the way that you handled, going about dating another person in the villa, you don't get to then look at them and make them feel guilty for making you talk about your feelings on fucking Love Island. It's like the whole point of the show, babe. So I was like, it's a little weird. I do think, in defense of Chris, which I don't like defending men, especially not Love Island men, but like in defense of Chris, they have only been coupled up for 2 days and they don't really know each other. And I don't know why Arabella would be like so hung up on Chris at this point in time, but I also think that he was being pretty rude and patronizing and just kind of an asshole for no reason. So I get why she's then going to get fired up in response, but I don't get why we're like so hung up on Chris as a person. Like, yeah, he's an asshole, but yeah, she's overinvested for what it was. So I'm like, this is messy, and I love every minute of it. Then Georgia basically tells Anton that she wants to pump the brakes. And Anton is like, okay, it's fine. We can just be friends. And she was like, we don't need to completely dead it, but just like take a step back. And he was like, okay, I mean, this is confusing, but all right. I don't understand why she's asking to pump the brakes. I don't think she likes Anton. I don't think she's attracted to him. And he was very kind and very respectful about it, but I get why he's confused. And he's sort of like, okay, like, yeah, we can pump the brakes if you want. But every part of what she was saying sounded like she just wasn't interested in him. So I don't know. But Anton's a king, and he handled it like a king. Then there's a recoupling that happens, and the public picks who Tom and Sophie are going to couple up with before the rest of the recoupling happens. So we've got Tom and Molly, Sophie and Josh, Tyler and Hannah, Callum and Loyal G, Chris and Kaz, Toby and Arabella, and Mitch and Liberty. During the recoupling, when Mitch is selecting Liberty, he says something that makes it seem like he just wants to like focus on Liberty and pour all his attention into her. And then immediately afterwards, he says to the boys, he doesn't know if he even likes the girl. And even the guys are like, what is wrong with you? Why do you keep saying things that you don't mean? Like, you are actually fucking evil. What is wrong with you? And then, like, immediately after the recoupling, Mitch tells Liberty that he feels like he's been super transparent and says that it seems like other girls in the villa are opposed to talking to him because he keeps making Liberty cry, which is fucking fair, Mitch. And also, I don't think that your transparency matters when you're being so fucking confusing. So you can say, like, I want to see other people. I want to see where things go. But if you're also like actively flirting with Liberty and telling her things like, oh, it's so attractive that you're handling it this way. Like, I am ready to pour all of my eggs into your basket. And you're like, what did he say to her earlier that I was saying? Oh, he said he was going to step up to the plate. So it's like, you can't tell Liberty, yeah, I'm going to step up to the plate. You're so attractive. It's so attractive that you're acting like this. And then also say things like, you know, I want to date around and see, I keep my options up and whatever, and be like, I've been so transparent. You're being confusing. Like, your transparency doesn't mean much when you're constantly conflicting what it is that you say and mincing your words. Nobody knows how you feel. Literally fucking nobody. So don't say that you're being transparent, because you're not. You're being fucking confusing. And that's the truth. So anyways, Liberty and Mitch decide to just be friends, which is for the best, and I hope it stays that way. Then they do like a brutal truth or dare game where they're deciding what the truth or dares are. So they're not pre-written, but the Islanders are deciding what they are. A lot of it is just like pettiness. Who's the worst Islander? Mitch. Who's the most disloyal? Arabella. Whatever. People are just like getting messy, and it's mostly whatever. But then towards the end of the game, they truth or dare Callum, and the truth that he gets asked is how many people he slept with since breaking up with Molly, which is like 6 months ago. Him and Molly broke up, and Callum says that he slept with 16 women in the 6 months that he and Molly have been broken up, which everyone has a reaction to. They're like, 16 in the last 6 months since you broke up with Molly? And Molly was like, well, thank God I know. And that makes it a lot easier for me to move on from this fucking loser. And I was like, that's wild. I know that man hasn't been tested 16 times. If I was Loyal G, I'd be a little concerned right now. I don't know. I'm I'm not here to slut shame people. I think you can have as much sex as you want, but also, at what point does it become emotionally concerning? At what point do we start to question if this person is taking care of themselves? Oh, you thought it was over, bitch? Think twice, because we've got a whole other week of Love Island to catch up on since I wasn't here last week. So, Love Island week 3, let's get into it. Molly is pissed about the 16 girls thing. Fair enough. I think most of us would be. Molly and Callum talk, and Molly is basically like, you know, you could have been more precious about dropping that bomb. You could have been a little bit more considerate of my feelings. It's kind of asinine how little you have thought of me. And we were in a 3.5-year long relationship. Molly was like, I actually processed the ending of this relationship. I wasn't sleeping around with a ton of other people. I have had sex with one person since the ending of our relationship. And that's that. And I think everyone processes in their own way. However, I also think that it is concerning to break up from like a very invested long-term relationship and hook up with that many people. If I was Callum's friend, I would be concerned emotionally for why he's making those choices. And then Callum's basically like, I still want a good relationship with you, whether it's friends or more. And Molly basically was in her head like, I'm going to ignore that last part. And a friendship is well off the cards at this point, babe. They're both messy, but I think overall I tend to lean more towards siding with Molly because his weird indifference and like this indecisive yet open attitude towards having a relationship again with her is unsettling, and he's not behaving the way that somebody that wants nor deserves a second chance should be behaving. Plus, knowing everything else that we already know about their relationship, yeah, I'm good on him completely. Then Loyal G and Tom are sitting around the fire pit, and she's trying to play truth or dare with him, but she doesn't want to do dares, so basically it's just truth or truth. Basically, it's just we ask each other questions. They're playing 22 questions is what's going on. And Loyal G tells Tom that she wants him and that she doesn't really feel that much with Callum. Shortly after this happens, a text comes through that says the hideaway is open and everyone chooses Loyal G and Callum to go to the hideaway. So the timing on this was really quite funny. And then they get in the hideaway. And Loyal G is like, you know what, Cal? I honestly wouldn't want to be here with anyone else. And it's like, why are you lying? Why are you lying? This is my thing with these people on these shows. We all know you're being recorded. You know you're being recorded. There's no way you can get away with lying so boldly like that. You just told Tom around the fire pit that you were more interested in him than Callum. Now you're in the hideaway with Callum saying I wouldn't want to be here with anyone else. So what's the truth? What is the truth, Loyal G? Tom then says that he felt nothing seeing them go to the hideaway and he didn't really care that much. And then he kisses Molly in bed. Then the next day, Tom and Loyal G have a chat. Loyal G is still continuing to like sort of stick it on Tom, and he sort of lays the law down here. And he's like, you know what? I'm really getting on with Molly and I want to see this through and see what happens here. And that's that, really. Then, unexplainably, Georgia wants Mitch? Question mark? Exclamation point? Question mark, question mark? Now, let me remind you that Georgia has been seeing King Anton up until this point. King, the only one in that villa that is dateable on any level. So Georgia is going from seeing Anton to being like, you know who I'm interested in? The most immature man in this whole villa. Mitchell. And Kaz calls it out. Kaz is like, that's like going from a man to a boy. Like, why are we downgrading? Who would want Mitch after witnessing all of this? This is the question I continue to ask myself. This is like some of life's greatest mysteries to me are why the like world's shittiest people are so sought after. It makes no sense to me. The sweeties of the world get absolutely shat on, and then somebody like Mitch is unexplainably wanted by multiple women. For what? Callum tells Anton that he can tell that Loyal G is sort of messing about with Tom and that there's something going on there that he doesn't know about. Meanwhile, Loyal G is changing her damn tune every fucking day. So now she's saying that she feels a more mature connection with Callum again, which is absurd. It's just absurd. Now, okay, I'm going to remind you back to something Loyal G brought up before, which earlier Loyal G confided in Sophie and said, you know, Soph, I really can't picture myself having sex with Callum. And Loyal G said this to Sophie in confidence and was like, please keep this just between you and I. But Sophie tells Josh, who she's in a couple with. And Sophie she really decided to trust Josh in that moment to not tell Callum. But of course, Josh tells Callum what Loyal G told Sophie. Now we're going to put a pin in that for a second because it's time to play Snog, Marry, Pie. The game that notoriously makes everything so much more complicated. So here are the highlights. Mitch pies Liberty and says that it was because she's caused him absolutely nothing but stress over the last week. And she was like, babe, it's called setting boundaries, which Mitch causes all his own problems. I don't know why he would ever look at Liberty and be like, you've caused me nothing but stress. Like, she's just reacting to shit that you did. Maybe if you didn't do awful things, you wouldn't be so stressed out all the time having to deal with Liberty's reactions to your horrible things. Toby pies Loyal G, and she's mad about it and says that they're not talking and that he's lost a friend, which is pretty funny. To be honest, though, I do kind of get it because having whipped cream in your face, like, I'm pretty sure that would set me off too, and I would probably say something that I don't actually mean just because I'm mad to have, like, gross whipped cream in my face. Somebody, when I was at a sleepover once in, like, middle or high school, the other people at the sleepover, like, they slammed whipped cream in my face when I was sleeping. And I, to this day, remember that feeling of how upsetting that was to me. And I am not the type of person that can laugh about that at all. I've said this. I've for sure said this before. I will not laugh if you prank me in my sleep. And I understand that this is not that because you are aware that it's coming. But I just feel like having whipped cream shoved in my face would make me irrationally angry no matter the circumstances. Tyler kisses Hannah and marries Kaz, and then in his speech to Kaz, he was like, maybe in another life we could have worked out, which if I was Kaz, this would have made me unbelievably angry, and it actually would have made me upset because there's no reason why it couldn't have worked. It was your fault that it didn't work. I did everything right and it didn't work. So in another life, it wouldn't have been different because you fucking suck. And there's nothing that I could have done differently to influence this. It was all you. So you don't get to sit there and be like, it could have been different. No, it couldn't have. I can say that. You fucking can't. Oh, it would make me so mad. In another life, we could have worked out. Maybe you should have just done better in this life. Loser. Oh my God. Anton kisses Georgia and then he steps back. He's like looking all suave. Like he kisses Georgia and then he steps back a few too many times and falls in the pool. But he recovers swiftly. He like turns the fall into a backflip. Honestly, it was kind of a slay. If I was Georgia, that would have felt like a huge compliment. And then he gets out of the pool and he was like, he mutters to himself. He's like, why does this always happen to me? And I was like, it makes me love him so much more. I'm like, there's just something so weird and dorky and charming about him. He's my king. He's my season 5 king. Liberty pies Mitch and says that he has the emotional maturity of a 2-year-old, which is very true. Thank you, Liberty. Then all the other girls are going, and a lot of girls are pieing Mitch in support, in solidarity of Liberty. Listen, I love shit like that. That sounds great to me. I would do anything for the girlies, okay? You hurt my friend, you hurt me, bitch. Josh then, for whatever reason, because this has nothing to do with him, Josh then gets mad because a lot of the girls are pieing Mitch in defense of Liberty, and it's like, he's yelling at the girls being like, this is such a cop-out. Like, who fucking cares? Why do you care? You're not even involved. Like, at least if Mitch was getting salty, I would at least understand that because he's the one that's getting pied. But what the fuck do you care about, Josh? Don't care.
You see, if Mitch was in the right here in any way, we would have an argument about this, but Mitch has been such an asshole to Liberty. He deserves every last one of these pies. So why are we defending him? For what reason? Then Molly ends up pieing Callum and not him, and Mitch goes, "That's a woman with her own thoughts." I'm not kidding. I would have sprinted out from behind that fucking table where they were preparing the pies and decked that man. They would have had to remove me from the show. I love saying things like that because I totally wouldn't do that, but it sounds really fun to say out loud. I love being like, if I was there, I would do this absurd thing and you'd have to remove me from the show and put me in jail. And I'm like, bitch, you couldn't even pinch that man. You'd be too scared. Then after the fact, Georgia and Mitch are talking, and Georgia's like, you really shouldn't have pied Liberty at all. All she's ever done is like you, and like now you're mad at her saying that she caused you nothing but stress. All she did was have a fucking crush on you. I hate, and this is also why I just resonate with Liberty so much. I really do. I hate when men make you feel like you are like such a burden for liking them and having a crush on them, which is exactly what Mitch did to Liberty. And my heart hurts for her because, oh, have I been there. And then Mitch was like, she's hurt my feelings too. Like, how? What has Liberty done genuinely? What has she done besides stand up for herself? He's such a loser. How does Georgia not see it? Loyal G and Tom are talking, having a little private chat yet again, and everyone at this point is starting to notice, and they're like, what more do they have to talk about here? Like, I get at first they're sort of like catching up, they have some sort of history, whatever, but at this point, hasn't that all been sorted? Neither one of them have outright said that they want to explore things with each other, so like, what's going on here? Anyways, the boys told Callum about what Loyal G had said about him, about her not being able to see herself sleeping with him. Callum then pulls Loyal G and is like, so what's all this then? And she was basically like, yeah, I did say that. And then they kissed. Unexplainably. Didn't see that coming. She calls her out for saying that she couldn't picture herself sleeping with him. She was like, yes, I did say that. Somehow weaseled her way out of it by being like, it takes me a while to develop that. But it's like, if that was true, would you have honestly said that to Sophie? Like, if that was true, it doesn't really sound like there's a story to tell. But you announced it to Sophie like it was like, I don't know. Like, I just don't feel like we have any sexual chemistry. I'm not really feeling anything here. And then when she gets confronted about it, she's like, that's just because it takes me a long time to feel comfortable having sex with someone. Freak. I'm like, that's totally not how you said it, but okay, mama. Then Tom tells Molly what Loyal G has been saying to him and how she's been like flirting with him, trying to see if he'd be open to pursuing something. And then Molly was like, oh, you absolutely should have told me sooner, which I get because it's been a few days at this point and him and Molly are like making out in bed. So he probably should have brought it up with Molly. Maybe like 24 hours before then, but I don't know. Listen, I remember Tom from 2 seasons ago. We weren't always the biggest fan of him either. And if I'm remembering correctly, there were moments that Tom had where you were like, oh, maybe he's getting better. Maybe things are okay. And then he goes back off the deep end again, and then he comes back, and then it goes. So sometimes you're going to like Tom, and you're going to trust him, and then other times you're not, and just don't be weary of that, man. And then Molly's obviously just upset and frustrated at Loyal G, and she's like, oh, like she's got my ex, she's got Callum, and now she wants Tom too. Like, fuck this girl. I'm done always, why is she here? Hannah starts telling the girls that she's not really feeling it with Tyler. She does end up bringing this up to Tyler when they get to the day party. They go to like some beach club, have a little day party. The main thing that happens here is that Molly and Loyal G get into a huge fight. And as Molly and Loyal G are talking, Loyal G is lying, just lying so much. It's actually unbelievable how much she lied in that conversation. Just like trying to totally rewrite the narrative of what her conversations with Tom have been like and how flirty that they've been. If she's saying she's not interested in him at all, like she's all over the fucking map. I hope that somebody makes a compilation of all the times she lied directly. Like, show me what she said and then show me a clip of her saying she didn't say that thing, because it's happened like at least 10 times at this point. Molly says that she isn't really acting like a girl's girl, and this absolutely fucking sets her off. Point of no return. It's just like they're not going to come to a resolution. And you know what? Molly was so right for that. And the people on Reddit have been making threads for the last 3 weeks about how Loyal G isn't a girl's girl. So it seems like we're all in alignment here. Then Maya Jama shows up, and the public have been voting for their favorite couples. In order of most loved to least loved, this is how the public feel. First up, Tom and Molly. Then we've got Loyal G and Callum, Hannah and Tyler, Georgia and Anton, Kaz and Chris, Sophie and Josh, Arabella and Toby, and Liberty and Mitch. Because Liberty and Mitch are the lowest voted couple, they are immediately dumped from the villa, which I was at least a little shocked by. Like, I get why Mitch is in the bottom, fucking obviously, but you would think that enough people would like Liberty that they'd be above Sophie and Josh, who are really boring. To me, I was like, I thought Sophie and Josh were going to go because they're just so boring. So I was like, who's voting for them? But, you know, Kai and Sanam won season 9, which was, they were the most boring. So British people love boring people. Here's the thing. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I watched this show for drama and for juice, not because I actually like or admire any of these people or think that they're actually in love. So at the end of the day, I wanted Mitch to stay here because he brings me the drama and I hate him and I have fun with that. Okay. So I was like, damn, this kind of is a loss getting Mitch out of the villa, but c'est la vie. What can you do? And I guess it is the best for Liberty and her mental health because she's just so not built for Love Island, but I did need them for entertainment purposes. Okay, here we go. Plot twist. Oh, something's happening. They're not the only couple going home tonight. 2 more Islanders are leaving. And the decision is down to the Islanders. So the girls have to vote a boy off and the boys have to vote a girl off. The girls vote Tyler off and the boys vote Hannah off. Voting Tyler off made sense to me because he was new and he was boring and who cares? Voting Hannah off was a crime against everyone that's hot and has tits. And I say this from the bottom of my heart. Fuck you. You will pay for this. Because we needed Hannah, okay? I love Hannah. I needed her there. But anyways, Tyler and Hannah are dumped from the island. Then we've got 2 new Islanders entering. We've got Casey from season 9, which nobody wanted him back, but here he is. And then we've got Joanna from season 5. So Casey walks in, he's having a conversation with all the girls, and immediately he asks Loyal G about her love triangle. And she's like, what love triangle? Because she's so committed to lying at this point. And it's like, Mama, this is televised. We have seen it. The love triangle, we all know about it. So what are we hiding? Then we find out that Casey and Georgia have history. And it sounds like it was a little bit of a rocky ending and she was super hurt by it. We're going to loop back on that one because this piece of knowledge has triggered one of my favorite Love Island moments to ever happen in any series. I'm so excited to talk about it. Okay. Anton has a conversation with Georgia in which he tells her that she was on the chopping block for like who the boys were going to pick to leave the island. They were deciding between Hannah, Georgia, and Kaz. And that Anton relayed this to Georgia and was like, and I never would have let it happen. I was fighting for you. And I just need you to know that. Whatever. Anton was being a little messy, but it really wasn't that big of a deal. Like, you had to vote someone off. And a lot of the other people are in like solid connections at this point, and she's not. So I don't know why it was like that big of a deal, but it escalates. They play a game of Never Have I Ever, and Casey pulls the Never Have I Ever ghosted another Islander card. And Georgia is like, you should drink. And he's like, I shouldn't drink. I didn't ghost you. What are you talking about? She's like, you should drink. And then a few questions later, there's like, never have I ever been heartbroken by another Islander. And Georgia drinks. And everyone was like, you can elaborate on that? And she's like, no, don't want to. Then, because all of the attention is on Georgia during this Never Have I Ever game, she like brings up the fact that Anton told her that she was almost chopped from the island, and she is like talking over everybody and is just starting beef for no reason. And Kaz is trying to talk and everyone is talking over her. It's like so rude. And Kaz was actually trying to like provide a useful reframe. Like she was trying to help the group, because it was between Kaz and Hannah, not Hannah and Georgia. Either way, who fucking cares? Because Hannah was the one that was chosen. Anyways, everyone is talking over Kaz, and Kaz just like ups and walks away, and it sort of ends the conversation, which I think it's a good thing that Kaz walked away, because that conversation just needed to end, and when she walked away, it sort of allowed that to happen. Georgia is crying over Casey because he's talking to Molly, and Georgia's like, why am I never the one that's chosen? And she's all sad, and you start to feel bad for her for a little bit. And then Casey and Georgia have a conversation. So good. You couldn't have written this better. Casey and Georgia are having a conversation, and they're talking about like what is it that went wrong? Georgia's like, please just like tell me. And he's like, do you really want to know? I'll be honest with you. This is why we stopped talking. And Casey says that the reason why he goes to Georgia was because of her spirituality. Reminder, she's been having meditations in the morning, which I'm a huge fan of. I love meditating. Sounds great. Spirituality is totally fine, totally cool. But it wasn't just because of her spirituality. It was because she basically told him that she saw his dead grandpa in a vision. She basically was like on a spiritual retreat and was seeing Casey at the time and texted him to be like, and I saw your grandpa. And your grandpa came to me in a meditation and I saw him and he wanted me to tell you this. And it was like, Casey was like, that was a little too much for me. And you know what? I think that's fair. I think that's super fair. If you are not spiritual at all, and then you're dating someone who's spiritual, and it's like, I love that. I love that that works for them. I love that that makes them feel good. Everybody has their own relationship with spirituality, but then they're like, I saw your dead grandpa in a vision. Like, it'd be pretty hard to be on board with that. I was like, there's no fucking way. Oh my God, it was just beautiful. I was giggling. I was hee-heeing and hawing. Oh my God. It comes out that Toby is still thinking about Loyal G, which, whoa, I thought this was long gone at this point. Then there's a recoupling that happens. The boys are picking, but Casey and Joanna get to pick first. So Casey chooses to couple up with Kaz. Joanna chooses to couple up with Chris. Then we've got Tom and Molly, Anton and Georgia, who Anton gives like a whole little speech, and during it he says that he loves Georgia's spiritual side and it makes her cry. And it really does suck because he is like saying all the right things and doing all the right things, and they're still not going to end up together because Georgia doesn't like him, and she won't just outright say that she doesn't like him for some reason, and I think it's mean at this point. Then we've got, this is the real twist, Toby chooses to couple up with Loyal G, which leaves Arabella to couple up with Callum, and then we've got Josh and Sophie together. What the fuck? I didn't mention this earlier, but during the Never Have I Ever game, it was like Never Have I Ever done bits inside the villa, and Arabella and Toby both drank. So we don't know what they mean by bits, but they've been like, fooling around with each other the, last few nights that they've been in bed in the villa. So Toby decides to couple up with Loyal G. shortly after admitting to everyone that him and Arabella are doing bits, which is fucking wild, he gives a whole speech about being brave and going after something that he knows would work on the outside, which is wild. This is all wild. He has said not a single word to Arabella about this before making that decision, which is what makes this particularly fucking insane. Because if he was going to choose to couple up with Loyal G, at the very least, he needed to give Arabella a warning and tell her that he was going to do that. But nobody knew. Loyal G didn't know. Arabella didn't know. He talked to nobody about the fact that he was going to do this. He just went ahead and did it. So Arabella is sobbing, and she's like, what the fuck just happened? How can you be acting the way that you're acting with me and then go and do that? Toby and Arabella try to have a little chit chat about it. It goes poorly, obviously, because what is there really to say at this point? Emotions are so heightened, and it really is just like, it is mean, and it's not going to feel good. And I don't know that I would have reacted any differently if I were her. Then Loyal G, in response to all of this, seems at the very least open-minded about it, and everyone is a little bit suspect. And then Cal and Loyal G talk about what just happened, and Callum is basically like, you can do what you want, but I'm not going to be around for it. And she was like, that's so mean. Why would you say that? That's literally so mean, Cal. And it's like, it's not. I'm so over Loyal G. She comes off to me as someone who has never been told no in her entire life. She comes off to me as someone that just needs a little bit of humble pie, as they say. I think that she has had so many people just absolutely fawning over her and falling at her feet. I think she's used to getting everything she wants. And it shows. So anyways, that's where we left off. That is the end of week 3. So now we're officially all caught up, which means next week when I'm back for another episode, we'll be able to start fresh and get back into everything. This is such a long episode, so I'm going to have a real feast editing this. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Thanks for listening. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in next week's episode. Bye.